You know, a lot of people ask me about the earlier years with my wife because I'm always talking about the later years when she passed away from alcohol use disorder. The first time seeing me, we were married for 25 years, and unfortunately, she succumbed to the disease about 4.5 years ago. But the early years, when I first met her, I mean, she always drank wine, but it was usually a couple of glasses, and I never really understood why till I met her family. And I mean, they all drank wine. It was either red or white for dinner, and I was like, red or white? You got any soda? I mean, I just didn't like wine. I didn't like it then, and I hate it now. I mean, just the sound of a cork being open sends chills down my back. Just the whole process of being around somebody that succumbed to the disease by drinking tons of wine. I can't deal with it anymore. I'm sure that resonates with anybody that has a family member like that. The early days were really wonderful because ultimately Amanda was a very kind, empathetic, loving, very intelligent, and she was funny. I mean, we had kind of the same personality. We were both quirky, funny. We laughed all the time, and we were the best of friends. And I think that's a big part of the reasons why I hung in there for as long as I did, because we had had such a wonderful relationship for so many years, and that's what made it that much more difficult at the end. And when she went to rehabs, I mean, it was like she was back for a while, and then the alcohol would just pull her back maybe 2 or 3 weeks out of her rehab, or maybe a month. And it was even that much more traumatic and that much sadder to see, because it's like she had revisited us and then she was gone again. But I'll talk more about the earlier years. The wine itself was not a big issue in the beginning. I mean, she drank a couple of glasses. I mean, to me, I didn't really think of it. I mean, that's what they did. I'd never been around wine, hadn't been around that kind of culture. It didn't really matter to me. It really wasn't an issue until, probably a decade in, when she started having withdrawals and other issues periodically. But even that, they were short periods of time, and then there would be long periods of time where it wasn't an issue. But in the beginning, I think the first indication that there was a problem was I had this big, huge wine rack that I had bought in my 20s and early 30s. I met Amanda when I was 30, and I used to go up to San Francisco, and I used to go to New York, see my parents, and I always bought a bottle of wine. I didn't even drink wine. I just collected them. I was a collector. And I had this rack of about, I don't know, probably 50 bottles in my kitchen. I had bought a new house at the time in Highland, California, when I first met her. And slowly, the first year we went together, that collection of wine slowly deteriorated down to just a few, and that always bothered me. It's like just be gone. She wouldn't even ask me; just pop one off, boom, and she would come over and have one. And I figured, well, somebody's drinking them at the time. And we had met really at work. We were both insurance agents, and later on we had our own brokerage. We worked for this one company for a number of years, and obviously we got together through mutual friends. And the book itself, Amanda: A Cautionary Tale of Alcoholism, really goes in detail of our earlier years, how we got together. We really met because she was very much into animals, and when I bought my new house, I wanted to get a dog, and our first date was actually going to the pound and getting my dog Chester, which she kind of ended up adopting. She had a dog, and I had a dog, and we became a family between the animals and the two of us. And it was just really a wonderful time. And then 6 years later, after we got married, Griffin came around, and then we had a complete family. It was a wonderful time. It really was. The 90s, really up until about 2010, 2012, before it started coming downhill. So we had a good 15, 18 years that were very nice. And I think it's really important to talk about the early years because they make the later years make more sense. Like, so many people ask me, why didn't you divorce her? Why'd you stay with her? Why'd you put up with it? Blah, 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 blah. Well, that's a personal reason for everybody. But in my particular case, because we had a wonderful relationship, she was the mother of our son, and we had a family. That's a big part of the reasons why I put up with it. My vows actually mean something, for better, for worse, for richer or poorer. Even that has limitations. I've touched upon it a little bit in the past. I was really figuring out an exit strategy when she did pass away, but that's irrelevant at this point. The thing is, I think we hung in there because it had been such a wonderful 15, 18 years in the beginning. And you always hope that you're going to get that back. And I think that hope is what keeps families, parents with their children, spouses together, and obviously children with their parents. So these very important relationships in our lives, we hang in there for our loved ones. We hang in there for the alcoholic in our family because we want to be able to return to a time that was better, that was wonderful, and that was the reason why we're here. And when that tips and you realize that's no longer going to happen, that's a tough place to be. That's one of the reasons why I make these videos, because when you get to that point in your family and the experience in your life with your family member who's an alcoholic, only you can make the decision when it is to make yourself a priority and to separate or to go limited contact with that person. Only you're going to know when that is. And there is a time for that, unfortunately. And that's how the problem does get solved within families. But again, the early years are the first, probably 150 pages in this book really go over that. We had a nice house in Canyon Lake. We had a boat, just a really wonderful time. Our dogs, and then Griffin came. We were really, the 90s up until about 2010 were really idyllic. And it's unfortunate how it ended, it really is. And again, the book is called Amanda, A Cautionary Tale of Alcoholism. You can actually pick one up. The pre-orders are now live in the PayPal link. You go to my link tree, go to the website, open up the website, and the PayPal link is right there. Pick one up. If you have a family member who's an alcoholic, if you're struggling with alcoholism, if you just want a Shakespearean tragedy story, just a very good story itself, pick one up. It's going to be a big book. And again, thanks so much for listening.